Welcome to the Veiling HMIS training series with the new data standards training. The new data standards take effect on October 1st of 2023. The first thing we're going to discuss about the new data standards are the HMIS federal partners. What this means is these are the individual departments and partnerships that are involved with the HMIS data standard changes. Those departments are taking the exact same changes when it comes to their data input. Those departments involved include the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, Administration for Children and Families, Runaway and Homeless Youth Program, HHS, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, Projects for Assistance in Transition from Homelessness, PATH, HUD, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, HOPWA, Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, Supportive Services for Veteran Families, Grant and Per Diem, GPD, Department of Justice, DOJ, the Office of Victims of Crime, OVC, Family Violence Prevention Services Program, FVPSA, Violence Against Women, VAWA, Department of Education, as well as the Federal Emergency Management Agency, American Red Cross. Some of the new funding sources that you may see, which may not be available in your community, include ESG Rush. Rush funding is available to help communities provide outreach, emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, and other assistance to people experiencing or at risk of homelessness who are in a disaster-affected area, but who cannot access all services provided by FEMA programs. In addition, you may see more about Unsheltered Special NOFO, the Rural Special NOFO. Some retired funding sources include the COC Joint Component Rapid Rehousing / Permanent Supportive Housing, as well as Rural Housing Stability Assistance Program. More about project information that you will see changes in this time around. Emergency shelter will be changed to Emergency Shelter Night by Night. A night-by-night shelter project requires the client to have a full record created, followed by a record for each night the client was sheltered. A new type will be added, which is an emergency shelter entry-exit. A entry-exit shelter program requires the client to have a full record created for each project stay. All data required for the project at the project entry and exit are recorded. A new rapid rehousing subtype for permanent housing rapid rehousing is rapid rehousing services only, a rapid rehousing project that provides services only and does not provide ongoing rental assistance. Rapid rehousing with or without services. Housings with or without services, a rapid rehousing project that offers ongoing rental assistance that may or may not be accompanied by financial or other supportive assistance. A new thing that you will see in a system is preferred name. The client's preferred name should be collected in HMIS going forward. If that client doesn't associate with their legal name, the name entered into HMIS should reflect the name the client identifies with, unless the legal name is required by the specific funder. Social Security number. The full 9-digit Social Security number is not required to be collected in HMIS unless the funder requires it. The 4-digit Social Security number can be used. One of the biggest changes you will see in a system is race and ethnicity. Race and ethnicity will be combined. The new combined element for both race and ethnicity, from which multiple options can be selected, so it will be a multi-select tool. And those options will include now American Indian, American Native or Indigenous, Asian or Asian American, Black, African American or African, Hispanic, Latino, Middle Eastern or North African, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, or white. An additional race and ethnicity details section will be added, which will only have 100-character limit. Staff observations should never be used to collect information on race and ethnicity. HMIS users and data entry staff should apply a client-centered approach to recognizing race and ethnicity identities in data collection. We will have some resources available to help you learn more about client-centered approach for recognizing race and ethnicity that are available by HUD. Gender. Language changes for sex terms will be now to gender terms. An additional if different identity section will be added, which you will be able to actually write in. Clients may select as many as 7 responses to gender as they would like. Clients may report different gender identities at different projects within the same COC. This could be for many reasons, such as gender has changed or for safety concerns. The genders now include woman, girl if child. Client identifies as a woman or a girl in the case of a child under the age of 18. Man, boy if child. Client identifies as a man or boy in the case of a child under age of 18. Culturally specific identity. An example would be two-spirit. Client identifies with an identity exclusive to particular culture. For example, two-spirit refers to a Native North American gender identity. Non-binary. Client does not identify exclusively as a man or woman. Questioning. Client who may be unsure, may be exploring, or may not relate to or identify with a gender identity. Different identity. Client identifies with another identity that is not listed as a response. Text box could be used at this time. Enrollment COC. The client location, which you normally put your LA 503 or LA 506 in, will now be called enrollment COC. There's no changes, it's just a change to the wording from client location to enrollment COC. HUD assigns COC code for the client location at project start and will only be available at entry as it is now. Health insurance, domestic violence, and well-being. Veteran Administration, VA, medical services will change to Veterans Health Administration, VHA. Domestic violence victim, survivor, changes to survivor of domestic violence. All of the well-being questions will be retired from all assessments starting October 1st of 2023. Translation assistance needed. There will be a new section for translation assistance / preferred language will be a new question, and 20 values will be available. Sexual orientation. Sexual orientation will be a required question for all permanent supportive housing programs, PSH, and those options will include heterosexual, gay, lesbian, bisexual, questioning, unsure, as well as other. General health status / worse housing situation. General health status will no longer be required for permanent supportive housing programs. Worse housing situation will also be retired. RIE updates. RIE service connections, postal natal care for mothers changes to postnatal care for clients, person who gave birth. RIE project completion status. Youth voluntarily left early changes to client voluntarily left early. Youth was expelled changes to client was expelled or otherwise involuntarily discharged from the project. As well as under counseling, counseling received by client changes to client received counseling. Veterans information. Space Force becomes an option for veterans information. SSVF. The new thing that you will notice for SSVF is that the last permanent address will now be retired as of October 1st of 2023. Services provided by SSVF will have an update word from extended shallow subsidy to shallow subsidy. Landlord incentive will be added to financial assistance SSVF. Percentages of AMI will be updated to currently 30% or less. 31 to 50%, 51% to 80%, 81% or greater. SSVF HP targeting criteria. History of literal homelessness changes to past experience of homelessness. Head of household is not a current leaseholder changes to head of household is not a current leaseholder / renter of unit. Head of household never been leaseholder changes to head of household never been leaseholder / renter. Single parent household with minor child or children to single parent guardian household with minor child or children. Prior living situation. Temporary and permanent housing situations will now be separated as two different sections. Emergency shelter, including hotel or motel paid for with emergency shelter voucher or RIDE-funded host home shelter will now change to emergency shelter, including hotel or motel paid for with emergency shelter voucher, host home shelter. New dependency will be added when rental by client with ongoing housing subsidy is chosen of rental subsidy type. Current living situation. Temporary and permanent housing situations will be separated. Emergency shelter, including hotel or motel, paid for with the emergency shelter voucher or RIDE-funded host home shelter changes to emergency shelter, including hotel or motel paid for with emergency shelter voucher, host home shelter. An additional dependency will be added that identifies the type of rental subsidy type. Also, if the previous current living situation answer is one of the below responses, the new current living situation will be set to rental by client, with ongoing housing subsidy and rental subsidy type will be set to match the old current living situation. Rental by client will include with GPD TIP housing subsidy, VASH housing subsidy, RRH or equivalent subsidy, HCV voucher, tenant or project based, in a public housing unit, other ongoing housing subsidy, permanent housing other than RRH for formerly homeless persons. Destination. Temporary and permanent housing destinations will be separated into two types. Emergency shelter, including hotel or motel, paid for with the emergency shelter voucher or RIDE-funded host home shelter will be changed to emergency shelter, including hotel or motel, paid for with emergency shelter voucher, host home shelter. New dependency will be added for rental by client with ongoing housing subsidy called rental subsidy type. Rental by client with RRH or equivalent subsidy becomes rental by client with ongoing housing subsidy and rental subsidy type RRH or equivalent subsidy. If the previous destination is one of the values below, then the new destination will be rental by client with ongoing housing subsidy and rental subsidy type will be set to match the old destination. Those rental by clients would include with GPD, TIP housing subsidy, with VASH housing subsidy, with RRH or equivalent subsidy, with HCV voucher, tenant or project based, in a public housing unit, with other ongoing housing subsidy, permanent housing or other than RRH for formerly homeless persons. HOPWA, services provided. Substance use disorder services treatment changed to substance use services treatment. Medical assistance, receiving public HIV/AIDS medical assistance and its dependency, if no, for receiving public HIV medical assistance will be retired. Housing assessment at exit, client went to jail/prison, changes to jail prison. Housing assessment at exit, client died, changes to deceased. Thank you for listening in. If you haven't already, please make sure to register for your in-person training, which is mandatory. And remember that all of the changes will take place on October 1st.